Monday Night Raw is on the air August the 19th, 2024, and here we are at the Recount Commentaries to discuss it. News and notes, let's be short about it. CM Punk had conversations about AEW again. Alright, let's get his exact verbiage. So, he was at the Fanatics Fest. I think he was talking to Shoemaker, the Masked Man, on his podcast or whatever. And they asked him about being a cancer. And Philip said, that's all BS. None of that stuff is reality. Oh, he's a cancer. Listen, not everybody gets nice me. I treat you accordingly. If you're a piece of and you act that way to me, I will treat you that way. If you're nice, you're smiling, you want to have a good time, let's have a good time. I'm all hugs. Then he says that the people who were spreading lies about him, he says, quote, they can't control me and they can't control the things I say. They absolutely hate that, so they try to control the way other people feel or see me. You're going to have to make your own judgment and draw your own conclusion. I know that there's typically a lot of people now who think that Punk is an angel who didn't do nothing. There's a lot of people who are like, yeah, everything Punk touches turns to shit. And I get that. I am not a CM Punk fan. I do not like Philip that much anymore. But I have to say that sometimes people are worse in the environment that you put them in. AEW was an environment that should have given him everything he wanted. So, I mean, he had an office job. He was working television. He even had his own TV show. And he still managed to get into it with somebody. Now, part of that was because of the environment. He had an antagonistic environment where some of the boys had turned against him for whatever reason. Feeling that he had affected the careers of a friend of theirs. So they turned sour against him. They have friends in the media. They started, planting stories in the media that made CM Punk look bad. But then CM Punk would respond by actually doing things that were stupid. Like, I don't know, flying off the handle at a presser while eating a muffin. Attacking these guys personally. Getting into fist fights with them backstage. Kind of old school stuff that you can't really do anymore. Especially with these new kids. CM Punk has had issues in every locker room he stepped in. That much is true. Maybe he's mellow now, but this is the same guy who started a fight with Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens wrestles in a t-shirt. He didn't like that. This is a guy who, started issues in WWE for no good reason, really. So, it's him, Maybe he is mellowed out. This could be his last chance. He's like, forget it. I don't want to be that guy anymore. This is my final big money run. Let's do it. And he's willing to pocket whatever issues he may have. And the company and the environment of the company is different. So I'm willing to accept that, but I'm not going to completely and totally say that, oh, it was the Young Bucks and all those guys who drove CM Punk to do those things. Because he's still responsible for his own behavior. And when he got into a fight in TNA with Teddy Hart, there were no Young Bucks there. This guy has gotten into it with people in every company that he's worked in. He's had, incredibly negative opinions from his peers in pretty much many of the companies that he's worked in. But now he comes to WWE, and a lot of the people who are young on the roster, they look up to him, especially in NXT. Because, the pipe bomb was in 2011. Some of them were in middle school. They were kids. So it's like, teaming up with like Randy Savage or something like that for them. So it's a different environment. As opposed to when he was the young guy and Shawn was there and Triple H was there and Undertaker was there and not everybody listened to him. He had no stroke. He was the young guy. They was like, beat it. You're trying to tell people what to do, kick rocks, But now he's one of the elder statesmen, and people are giving him respect. And he probably feels more respect. He probably feels more listened to. He's earned it. And I think showing that he's willing to blow up, still even at 43 or whatever he was when he tried to strangle Jack Perry, it goes to show that there was still some of that bitterness in him, but it might not be there anymore. I'm 100% not saying that CM Punk is not the problem. I'm not 100% saying that the Young Bucks and the Elite are not the problem. The problem is you have CM Punk, who has a chip on his shoulder and has always had a chip on his shoulder, which has led him to being negative in pretty much every locker room that he stepped in. And then you have these really petty high school girls in men's bodies who act that a specific kind of passive aggressive way and on social media and backstage, and it caused a problem. So I think that people should stop asking him about AEW, if we're being honest. I know they can't, they don't want to, especially where Jack Perry is still being pushed using almost the scapegoat. It was him the whole time. He was the problem the whole time. But Jack Perry's been an antagonist. So, no, it's not like Jack Perry was picked out of all of the many guys on the roster for Punk to try to bully. He's friends with the Elite. Everybody knows that. They're even using that in storylines that he only got a job because he was friends with the Elite. So this kind of stuff is bullshit. Everybody knows it. But I'm not going to... It's impossible, because I don't really like him, but it's impossible for me to say that it was 100% the Young Bucks, because he could definitely have been more mature in how handling the situation. All right, so the next news and notes is something we're going to have to discuss probably throughout the episode and probably this point forward. I'm being told now that Triple H is at Gorilla scrolling through social media to see what the fans' reactions of things are. Well, I hope you were paying attention when you mentioned that tournament, because at this point, Mr. H, I hope you lose one of your lucky socks in the dryer for that stupid tournament idea. Too many tournaments. I will talk about it when we get there, because I think we already know who's going to win the tournament, because we already know who's not in it, as far as we know, okay? So there's going to be a women's speed tournament as well. Whoopee. I mean, can't let the girls get left out, right? Whoa, oh my God. Is anybody even watching the speed stuff anymore? Did anybody ever watch it? I think I watched probably like one or two of those matches. I don't even see what they exist for, outside of creating content for Elon Musk. I guess one last note, I guess it is worth mentioning in passing. Phil Donahue passed away. He was 88 years old. He famously hosted an episode of Donahue, which featured Vince McMahon, John Arezzi, Dave Meltzer, Superstar Billy Graham, I believe Bruno Sammartino was on there, unless I'm misremembering. And it was about the Ring Boy scandal and the steroid scandal. This featured, the infamous Vince McMahon, Murray Hodgkinson situation where Vince told Hodgkinson that he was fired because he wasn't good at his job, and Hodgkinson claimed that he was fired because he would not give in to the demands of Pat Patterson. I think it should be noted, again, because people are seeing that clip all over the place, and so many people are young. You should realize that Murray Hodgkinson, I think that's his name, he may have, quote unquote, won on television with, a very sympathetic audience, but he was really a con man, and what he says occurred never actually occurred. Okay? I think people should be noted about that. What he said occurred to him never actually occurred. There were other people who were propositioned. A lot of them were young boys, not by Pat Patterson, but by other staffers such as Mel Phillips. And there were other people who have said they were propositioned. Barry Orton, the uncle of Randy Orton. I believe Jim Powers also says that he was one of the wrestlers who was propositioned, not specifically by Pat Patterson. At least, I don't think so. I don't believe he said a name. But Jim Powers was one of the wrestlers that complained, and Barry Orton was another one of the wrestlers that complained. But just for that episode, which is, you see clips of that floating around all the time, nobody ever tells you that Murray Hodgkinson was full of shit and he was a con man. That's why his case was thrown out. There were other people whose cases weren't thrown out, like Tom Cole, but Murray Hodgkinson's case was thrown out. Superstar Billy Graham also admitted later on that he lied about the whole steroid thing, and that he was using steroids before he even met Vince McMahon and came to the WWF. He was using steroids in like 1960 something or whatever. Before he even got into wrestling, he was using steroids. Bruno was just very bitter with Vince because there was a very bitter breakup near the end of Bruno's first run. A lot of it involved Bruno's son being fired from WWF. So there was a lot of stuff going on at the time that is other kind of personal politics. I'm not saying that, the WWF was completely innocent of these things. Just that they were guilty parties, but we're not sure that Pat Patterson was one of them. And if people get the wrong idea when they see something on television and they think, oh, this is perfect, but you never heard that name, Murray Hodgkinson, outside of that television show for this very reason, because he was a con man and a liar. Remember the John Arezzi part was actually replayed, I believe, in Dark Side of the Ring, because he was there. He had a radio show at the time. Remember in Dark Side of the Ring, he claimed that Vince McMahon had people following him and stalking his mama's house, and that led to the infamous Jerry McDevitt statement that, John Arezzi is not important enough. But that was entertaining at the very least. But Phil Donahue did a couple of episodes on wrestling. So you probably saw that floating around a lot. Donahue was an interesting show. It was one of the classic daytime television shows where they used to be more diverse. He would sometimes talk to Milton Friedman or Ayn Rand, and then there's Vince McMahon's there, and they're having theological debates about whether God is real or not, and real challenging television, dealing with serious subjects and silly subjects at the same time, before daytime TV became just celebrity gossip and who's the father of this here baby, and it's not any of the three guys that this girl brought to the show. All right, so let's get into Monday Night Raw. Triple H. I really hope you lost one of your lucky socks. Randy Orton came out there, says that Gunther had to catch an RKO for mentioning his dad and granddad. Gunther arrived, says that, that RKO that Randy Orton is celebrating, he should celebrate it because it's the only one he's ever going to get, the only celebration he's ever going to have. And now it's personal. He's going to beat Randy Orton until he's a bloody mess. At the beginning of his promo, and kind of as the promo went on, he got USA chants. People chanting USA at him. And he got legitimately mad and called the people lowlifes. Which is funny. The people who get upset about USA chants, is like, this is America. I'm sorry you don't feel strongly enough about your country to chant UK, or Japan, or whatever, or Mexico, because this is America. If you're a foreigner and you're messing with somebody from the good old USA, we're going to tell you about it. And heat is heat. So who cares what they're chanting? As long as they're chanting for the babyface, it shouldn't matter what the hell they're chanting. Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther jumped Randy Orton. They tried to. He fought them off initially, and then eventually they did beat him down. Kaiser then went and bothered Sheamus later, saying he's going to beat Randy Orton, then settle up with Sheamus at a later date. Then he promptly went out there, wrestled a match against Randy Orton, and lost. Ludwig Kaiser, let's say, he's one of Undertaker's favorite guys. This is very interesting. I just saw this on social media earlier today. He has apparently been giving Ludwig Kaiser some advice. Most recently, I think right after SummerSlam, he's kind of been in a little mentor position for him, which is great because Kaiser is phenomenal. You know, especially when it comes to working his gimmick and his character, how he carries himself. You know, A+ aesthetics, as he says. And he's a good wrestler, too. I thought this match was a little long, though. The match for Randy Orton. I think they gave him too much time. But they really wanted to just show off what Kaiser could do, which is, you know, okay, I guess. But having I don't know, what was it, maybe 10 to 12 minutes, maybe 15, main event on top of a 3-hour show is, boy, oh my God. Oh my goodness. They did the old run around the ring, drop kick into the leg spot, which was, you know, how Kaiser was going to start opening up his offense on Randy, which is fine, but ultimately Randy wins with the RKO. And then Randy gets jumped by Gunther after the match, and they brawl to end the show. So it was fine. Ultimately, I didn't hate the match between Orton and Kaiser. I thought it was pretty good. It showed off what Kaiser can do. There's a funny clip floating around about Randy Orton talking about eating a gigantic jar of Nutella, which sounds psychotic. But when you look at how big Randy is now, big body Randy, it's hilarious. Because he's not fat at all, but he's clearly almost built like the Warlord from WWF. Like, he's just solid, but chunky, like big upper body. Which is very different from the very lean Randy Orton that we're used to. But okay, I guess if he's eating like whole jars of Nutella, which I know is probably a rib. I think Cody learned his love of lies from Randy Orton. You know, thank God he didn't pick up any of Randy's other bad habits like shitting in bags. You know, which somehow he managed to get from X-Pac, even though I don't think they cross paths too much. So okay, Sheamus, he defeated Pete Dunne. Oh my God, the match was, he beat him with a brogue kick. Sheamus' hand was still injured from the shillelagh attack. I can't spell the word shillelagh. I'm glad you don't get to see this paperwork. I can't spell shillelagh for shit. In any event, Sheamus' fist somehow ended up in the turnbuckle. He just snatched it out and brogue kicked Pete Dunne into oblivion. And Pete Dunne's dead again. So he's back to NXT, I guess. I don't know what's going on. See, to me, I don't like Pete Dunne, clearly. I just don't think that there's much of an upside with him. But to me, it seemed like this should have been a match that he won, if for no other reason than for him to be one of the guys that you put in an Intercontinental title tournament. Because I could see him being in it, even though I think he probably would be in it anyway. But him going into the tournament with some momentum, and, you know, maybe this thing is not over with Sheamus, but I think that he probably should have won with the Sheamus having the handicap with one arm and all that. And then, of course, you have Kaiser floating around. That could have helped a little bit. But Sheamus wouldn't have lost anything if he lost this match. Sheamus just seems to be winning matches but not going anywhere. Like, there's no championships, I don't think, in his future. There's no upward mobility, really. He might wrestle Gunther for the title just because Triple H likes the match. He might wrestle Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental title just because Triple H wants a hard-hitting match. But you don't see Sheamus winning either of those contests, really, do you? I don't see Pete Dunne winning them either. But at least he's younger. And you could say, okay, we're trying to make somebody new. But heavens to Betsy, I'm not going to be for pushing Smallfoot and European guys. especially guys who were in NXT Black and Gold. Ugh, get that shit out of here. We don't need that shit around here. So the New Day backstage dressed like Ninja Turtles. I wonder if I could fast forward through real life live TV, I would. I don't want to care about these guys. They dress like idiots. But Kofi Kingston is questioning Xavier Woods' energy. Xavier Woods thinks that he thinks that Kofi Kingston is trying to replace Big E and wishes that he had been informed about this whole Odyssey Jones thing. Kofi Kingston just says, look, man, I'm just being a good veteran, trying to guide this young man in the way that we wish we had gotten such guidance when we were young and up and coming. And Xavier Woods is like, okie dokie, I see. So they go out, they have the 6-man tag. They win the 6-man tag, and they win the 6-man tag because Odyssey Jones beat one of the members of AOP. I didn't care about this match at all. I didn't care at all. A specific spot is when Kofi Kingston was going for the hot tag, and instead of tagging Xavier Woods, he tagged Odyssey Jones instead. And they made sure to have a camera right there so that you can get Xavier Woods' disappointment in his face. So they're telling the story that even though Kofi Kingston can perfectly explain what he's doing, it's rubbing Xavier Woods the wrong way. And Odyssey Jones was a big dude wearing very light blue. I wish he never wears that again. I know he's supposed to fit in with New Day. Never walk around looking like a gigantic ass nimbus cloud ever again. Just stop it. Whenever you feel the need to put on baby blue and have a gigantic upper body, just change your mind. Think of something else. Dark colors. Just that gigantic light blue stuff is over. Final Testament, boy, what's going on here? Do I even have to ask any questions? No, I don't think so. Let's move on. New Day. The people are frustrated. They're thinking they're about to break them up. I think they're just teasing this. They're going to blue ball everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not New Day that breaks up, but instead it's Odyssey Jones who turns on them, which seems like the more how New Day would probably want it is that he's not a member of the team. Eventually he's going to have some kind of schism with Xavier Woods. And who knows, Odyssey Jones might actually attack Xavier Woods and force Kofi Kingston to attack him. And it'll be Odyssey Jones fighting New Day. That seemed like it might be the case. Odyssey Jones is, big guy, happy. I think he needs a manager. Is Teddy Long willing to do it? Because you can't use MVP. It has to be a smaller dude, but I would want it to be a black dude. So, I don't know. Maybe NXT has a manager or something in there for him. I would like Odyssey Jones as a heel with a manager or something. That could be fun. Braun Breaker did a vignette, and this is where they announced this Intercontinental Championship tournament. And he starts talking later in the show after the vignette about Adam Pearce slowing down his momentum with this tournament. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing that he would note that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Now we have to wait for this damn tournament to end before Braun Breaker can wrestle somebody. And I'm thinking to myself, do we really need a tournament for this? Why not just do a battle royal? It's an 8-man tournament, I'm pretty sure. You just do an 8-man battle royal over the top rope. Or take 6 of those guys and do a 1-match, 6-pack challenge. Have one of those guys win. But I would prefer if Braun Breaker was in a storyline against somebody, rather than these boring-ass tournaments, these multiple-man matches, and a bunch of other nonsense. Just get a guy a personal feud. That's really what we want here. Or if you'd have had some good sense, there will be somebody who will be ready for him to wrestle, a babyface who will be ready for him to wrestle. Here comes Jey Uso. Well, that would be perfect if Jey Uso hadn't lost the last 100 matches he was in. Jey Uso put himself into the Intercontinental title tournament And I think because he's the first one to mention it, he's more than likely going to be the one to win it. It's probably going to be full of like Carlitos and JD McDonoughs and, that level of competition. You might have Dragunov in it. Maybe Sheamus will sneak in there. Maybe Kaiser will sneak in there. But I can see Jey Uso winning it ultimately, and Jey Uso and Braun Breaker being the match. Because they remembered all of a sudden that Jey Uso wants to be a singles champion, which is something they completely and totally forgot until this week, actually. Embarrassing. Ivy Nile, she called herself the Pitbull, said that Maxine Dupree was holding her back. They were about to have a match. Well, technically the match started before the Wyatt stuff started happening. And Nikki Cross scared her off, and then the Wyatt Six jumped. American made, American made, American made, American made. It jumped them. Beat them up. And that was that. So now Uncle Howdy will wrestle on Raw next week. He will be wrestling Chad Gable, which tells me that there's nothing special about this because it's on TV again. I know he's trying to use this as a TV draw, but people view what is on pay-per-views as being more important than what's on television. And if you continuously put these guys' debuts on TV, people are going to look at it like they're a TV act. They're not a pay-per-view act. And once that stigma gets attached to them, it's going to be hard to get off. And it's becoming that way with like the tag team championships and the Intercontinental title and all that stuff. People used to hate that those belts were never defended on pay-per-view. They used to complain that Vince didn't care about them. I mean, I guess they still are defended regularly, but they're never given prime real estate on the pay-per-view where you can actually, well, they are now because Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn was. But for a while there, they were doing it. Oh, we're going to do the match on the pay-per-view on the show before, the go-home show, or the show right after. And now they're doing that to the Wyatts. They're going to say, oh, okay, we're just going to throw these guys on TV, and hopefully they'll pop a number on television. And I don't know if that works. Maybe it does. What do you guys think? While you ponder that, I'll just keep moving on. The Terror Twins, the Tore Up Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley did a backstage promo where Rhea Ripley says that they were keeping Dominic safe and that Liv is a discount Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio cut their own promo in which Liv Morgan said that Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley don't stand a chance against them. They're the most dominant couple in WWE. And nobody puts their hands on her daddy Dom and lives to tell the tale. Dominic Mysterio challenged Damian Priest, said he's not the same guy that he was when Damian Priest was bossing him around. Said he was going to leave Judgment Day and Liv Morgan behind and fight Damian Priest head up. This led to a match between Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio, which was supposed to be a match, but Damian Priest knew that it was a setup and decided to walk into it anyway because he's an idiot. He's an idiot. And he actually didn't look too bad initially because he saw him coming and ended up beating up Balor, Carlito, and JD McDonough all at the same time at some point. They ended up cornering Dominic where Rhea Ripley gave him a headbutt. I hate those fucking headbutts. I hate those headbutts. Anyway, they were going to put Dom through the table when Liv saved him by hitting Rhea Ripley with a chair. And then Liv Morgan proceeds to dominate Rhea Ripley for like 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm like, oh, this can't be real. Liv is like very tiny with no musculature at all. She doesn't have a weapon. And she's like physically moving Rhea Ripley around and everything, like pushing her into the ring post. And one of my subscribers like, yo, Liv is too small for it to be believable. They need to have a bigger girl with her. And I was thinking the same thing. But then I said, like, you really don't even need for her to have a bigger girl with her. Wasn't Liv Morgan running around with a bat not too long ago? Like, why isn't she using her bat? Like, she had, like, some kind of bedazzled bat before. Like, she should just be hitting Rhea Ripley in the knee or in the shoulder or whatever with a bat. And that would be, like, the equalizer. You could probably find some big girl in NXT, like a Izzy Dame or something like that, to throw as, Liv Morgan's heavy to help her in this kind of situation. But I think she's more dangerous if she's by herself, and she's more credible if she's by herself. And then you just give her a weapon, and I think a bat would be perfect for her, because you could do a lot of damage even with a small body and not that much upper body weight, and or physical strength, if you have like a leverage weapon like a bat. Because, if you could take a bat and go downward on somebody's knee, you could really screw them up. Hell, an infant could probably hurt you really bad with a bat. It hits you in the right joint or something like that. And if you're going for like a shoulder or a knee or something like that, somebody the size of Liv Morgan could really do some serious damage with a weapon. And I think that's the mistake that they're making, is instead of hitting her with like a flat chair, she just cut that's Nancy Kerrigan on Rhea Ripley, just come running by, just swat her right across the knee. And I think it really needs to be the knee more than the shoulder. I know the shoulder is where she had surgery and all that, but Rhea is still, with one arm, so much bigger than Liv, that the psychology should be that she's trying to slow Rhea down and destroy the base of her strength, which is not in her arms and upper body, but it's actually in her legs. Like, how is she going to do a riptide with one leg? Yes, you could say, how can she do it with one shoulder? But she's like one jerking motion with the shoulder. She needs to like plant her feet in order to do a lot of her offense. But I agree that Liv Morgan being physically dominant over Rhea Ripley is ridiculous. Even after one chair shot, it seems excessive that Rhea would sell so much and that it would go so far. But they're trying to make Liv look legit here. They're doing their best. While all of that's going on, Damian Priest is getting his shit kicked in by the other guys. Hey, Carlito. Let's talk about Carlito. Let's talk about old Carlos. Wasn't the reason he was even in Judgment Day was because he was a refugee from the LWO? Has that been dropped? Because remember, he was supposed to be hiding out with Judgment Day so that the LWO wouldn't get him and beat his ass because he was a traitor. But I haven't seen a member of the LWO on Raw in months. When was the last? Oh, I guess there was a mixed tag match that featured Ray and Zelina. But that was a cool 4 weeks ago. Does he really still need to be hanging out with Judgment Day? I mean, he's the Apple guy. I don't think he listens to Seether or, or anything like this. Like, I don't think he fits in. He got a gigantic goddamn afro. I don't think he fits. But whatever. They jumped Damian Priest and beat him up. And then they beat up Rhea Ripley as well. So the Terror Twins were the Torn Up Twins. They went down like, Empire State Building. Okay. They're trying to put over the new Judgment Day, and everybody in this group is very small. Finn Balor's tiny. JD McDonough is very small foot European dude. Carlito is gigantic, in terms of compared to the rest of these guys. But he's like slow and chill. Like so he's not trying his best out there. So okay. They're trying to put some heat on this thing. I think they probably need to make that mixed tag match Tornado, and probably no disqualification, just to sweeten it a little bit. But I like it. I don't really hate the idea of the mixed tag match, and I don't really hate this feud so far. There's just some minor changes that I would make to make Dominic and Liv especially more of a threat. And it seems like we also have kind of moved away from Finn Balor being sort of the main antagonist for Damian Priest, which I don't know. And also, I forgot they were the tag team champions. My God, there's no tag teams. There's no tag teams on this show at all. So, how about that? Maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to do Damian Priest is going to win the tag team titles from those guys with a random partner or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. I don't care. All right, CM Punk. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, their forever feud is still going on. So Punk comes out there, decides to tell a story that WWE is hot because of the fans. Because of the sickos and the freaks and whatever else he called them. And then he says the love that the fans have, that's why the company is hot. That's why they're selling out arenas all over the place. They're empowered by the fans, and they're empowered by the fans' stories. Like, he tells stories of some people fighting cancer and, you know, serious injuries, etc. He said that's why when fans hand him things like bracelets, it means something to him. It may not mean anything to anybody else. And Drew McIntyre took the bracelet from him. So we back on it. Okay, good. From there, he says that his biggest hater is his biggest fan. And he got him a bracelet too. And it was a leather strap. Then he challenged Drew McIntyre to a strap match. Drew McIntyre accepted the strap match while also teasing that he was going to fight CM Punk right now. But Punk wouldn't put down the strap to fight him. And so they just going to have the match next week in Berlin. All right. I mean, this is a good step up. It's not going to be as, you know, bloody as like the dog collar match that he had with MJF. It's not going to be that level. But a strap match is pretty good as in terms of a surrogate. I could see them maybe wanting to do a dog collar match, but then saying, okay, Punk has already done that with MJF, and how much color can they really get in WWE? Which would be the question, like you punching each other in the head with chains, and how much color can you actually get? So it's like the strap match was sort of a happy medium between a dog collar match and some other kind of no disqualification gimmick. So I guess it's fine. Philip calls himself Taylor Swift for men. The little brookies, they're going to be very excited about this. And all the people who camped outside or whatever that pastry shop is in Chicago to get, or the people who showed up for the free ice cream, all you little brookies who wrote all your little articles when he came back, and now you're upset and you're very mad and you're saying, oh, he ruined my AEW. Yeah. For idiots, morons, goobers, marks. Again, don't hate the strap match idea. It's okay. Final spot, I guess. Bronson Reed defeats The Miz in a no disqualification match. Adam Pearce says he wanted to fine and suspend Bronson Reed, but The Miz is the one who made this challenge. He said he wants The Miz to look him in his face and admit that he wanted this match. And The Miz says, well, he doesn't know whether he wants to do this or not, but he feels like he has to. Because Bronson Reed hurt the only friend he's got. And everybody's like, yeah, The Miz is honorable. I was like, ugh, The Miz is honorable? That's weird. Of course, The Miz lost. One tsunami. Crowd is actually looking forward to the tsunamis now, so they've educated them. This is how it works. You got over your move. He was going to do a second tsunami to The Miz when Braun Strowman marched to the ring and scared Bronson Reed off. So, okay. See, this was good. I like that. You know, Bronson Reed saw somebody who was, you know, bigger, stronger, and was like, oh no. Oh, no. He backed away. He's like, no, I don't want no parts of that. I like that. What I don't like, however, is that they immediately threw them in a match against each other. So now Bronson Reed is going to wrestle Braun Strowman next week. With the size difference between these two guys is about to be pretty goddamn glaring. because Bronson Reed is about 5'6", shaped like a meatball with arms and legs, like a meatball from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, while Braun Strowman is like a legit giant. Like a legit giant. So it ought to be very interesting to see whether Braun Strowman is just going to dribble him around the ring or not. But they're probably going to act like Bronson Reed is big as hell. You know how that works. But I wish they would have given him some more time in between these matches. Like, instead of immediately going into this match, that they would have maybe had a promo segment between the two, or whatever. But it's the strategic use of Braun Strowman. I like it. It's a good way of taking this story to the next level. Where Bronson Reed is, crushing dudes. And now it's like, try it on this one. Try this guy on for size. All right, so the last spot, I guess, is the Women's Tag Team Championship match. The League of Extraordinary Lesbians, who they have deemed the pure cunt collective. I don't remember what the confusion, chaos collective, or whatever. Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler versus Io Sky and Kairi Sane versus Isla Dawn and Alba Faya for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And, of course, the Women's Tag Team Champions won. The match was, well, Kairi almost died. She got back. It seemed like Io was supposed to, like, alley-oop her over the rope, but she didn't quite make it. But she still fell, with really good form onto the crowd. And it was a solid match that I think that the crowd got into, but I don't have any interest in Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. I don't care about these people. The finish was fine, though. Shayna Baszler had a chokehold on Kairi. Isla Dawn grabbed him, did a backstabber, and just basically held him in position for Alba Fire to do a swanton bomb and get the finish. And that was that. They didn't really build it up. They mentioned it earlier in the night, and then it happened. So there was that. And that's pretty much Monday Night Raw from top to bottom. I guess there was nothing embarrassing or too bad on the show. It was just bland, I guess. It was fine. Couldn't find anything to complain about outside of, some of the matches being too long and not anything to do with Braun Breaker or the tag team titles, the men's tag team championships. So stuff like that. I think the main event was probably too long. But for the most part, I think it was a solid show. I was very tired by the time the show was over, but there was nothing on it that was so awful that it made me want to like run away and crawl under a bridge or anything like that. So Triple H, okay. You survived this episode of Raw because at least some of this stuff was very interesting for the future. And I like the idea of the strap match. I like the Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed pairing. The New Day stuff, maybe because New Day has been around for so long, I don't care about it. Like, I don't care about the New Day story. They've been around for so long. And they peaked probably when Kofi won the title. And he probably was dead in the water before that, but they peaked when Kofi won the title. And, Big E winning the title didn't really breathe that much life back into them. And I just don't see the point why they're still together at this point, man. I'm struggling to even understand why they're still wrestling on television, period, anyway. They should just be like backstage guys or something. They should be trainers in NXT or something. I don't know. But there's that. Gunther was solid, So everything was pretty much solid. It was a respectable show, but nothing to write home about. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. I appreciate it. And peace out.
No one does it better.